Gene Jackson here for WrestleCopia Podcast Network, and I am very excited to announce that we have a brand new podcast coming up in August with the man himself, Dangerous Doug Gilbert. I am getting ready to have some dangerous conversations with this man right here, Doug Gilbert.
Dangerous conversations. That's what it's all about.
Hey, man.
There are a lot of friends of mine that I've got some stories to tell about even from my childhood growing up till today here in Jonesboro, Arkansas.
That's right. We're going to cover the entire Gilbert legacy. You've had questions. You wanted to know things about Doug, about Eddie, about Tommy, about the Gilbert family in general. And if you tune in to Dangerous Conversations with Doug Gilbert, we're going to be telling him stories each and every week. And you never know who from Doug's past or present may be there with us. Join us. WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Dangerous Conversations with Dangerous Doug Gilbert.
And there's going to be a lot of friends.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast. I'm your host, Gene Jackson. And once again, I'm joined by my lovely co-hosts, Josh Briley and Richard Mullikin of P3 Radio. Guys, how's it going?
It's going
It's
pretty
awesome,
good.
man.
Yeah, man. This is awesome. Glad to be back. Hopefully, people aren't getting sick of us yet.
Well, I mean, this is only the second week in a row. I mean,
Yeah. We're an acquired taste, though, man. Like my grandmother used to tell me, she was big on hating Danny Davis and hating on pretty much me and my friends. So we were in good company. So we were an acquired taste, according to her.
That's upsetting. I don't know how you can hate on Danny Davis.
I
mean, even if his nephew wasn't here with us right now, I still would be singing the praises of Nightmare Danny Davis.
Yeah.
Well, Mama wouldn't, and she'd do it right in front of me too.
She looked Josh right in the eye and be like, "Your uncle wasn't shit." You know that?
I ain't seen him win one match.
Mm-mm.
I'm like, well, Miss Pearl, he has. He's got that one belt.
He won that by forfeit.
But to be fair, she's seen him like in the late 70s and the early 80s. You know what I mean? And like some of that time, he was getting stomped into, a pile of nothing. But like over time, he just went other places, and then he would go under a mask and this and that. So like Miss Pearl didn't know he was winning as a Nightmare.
Well, we're squirreling here. Long story short, we're doing good.
Yeah, he got a hold of them Flintstone vitamins in the late 80s, and things turned around for him. So
That was
we're happy about that. So, all right, guys. So you're here. You're doing good. I'm here. I'm doing good. What do you say we head back to February 27th, 1993 for some more USWA Championship Wrestling. All right. So fresh off the narcissist Lex Luger coming into town last week and helping Brian Christopher pick up a disqualification win in a tag team match against the King Jerry Lawler and Jeff Jarrett. Of course, we talked about that at the end of last week's show, how Lex managed to duck out of the way just in time of the fireball that the King tossed that went right into Brian Christopher's face. We're actually going to see that here in a little while, so stick around for that. And if you are just listening on the audio, go to YouTube and find the video because you're going to want to see this. This is one of the biggest. I've seen Jerry Lawler throw some fireballs. Good Lord, this one is epic. So as the show gets going this week, we get a recap of what's been happening with the Gilbert brothers in the past few weeks. They've had a war raging on, and we know from the end of last week's podcast that last Monday night, Eddie defeated Doug via countout in their most recent one-on-one match. So Eddie comes out and has some things to say about his brother Doug. Let's check out what Eddie has to say about Doug following their most recent match where he won via countout.
Eddie, I'm sure you saw all of that, and obviously you're still not in too good a mood about it.
Well, Dave, this has been a very, very strange situation for me since the beginning. I know a lot of people probably said to you, a lot of people have said to me, to everyone around here that it's a little different. Two brothers fighting each other, especially in the wrestling business. You don't ever hear of that. Well, then I got to thinking about this past week a little bit. Well, it's really not anything different. Because if we think back about a little bit, and it goes back to the Bible. Remember Cain and Abel? Well, I want to come out here today, and I want to tell my story about Doug Gilbert. I want to tell the story that hasn't been told. I want to tell everyone here what a goof my brother has been all of his life. All of a sudden we heard this racket, come watch me, come watch me. Well, we come running outside the house. We run around the back of the house, look up on top of the house, and there's Doug standing up there with this big long red cape on. He says, I'm Superman. I said, Doug, don't, you can't fly. He said, yes, I can. And he jumped off, and Doug didn't fly. Doug went, boom, straight on his head. Well, it's Doug again. And now he's got him a little towel wrapped around his body down here, and he's going, oh. He says, I'm Tarzan, king of the apes. And he grabs this little, it wasn't even a vine. It was just, I don't even know what it was, hooked onto the tree. And he says, watch me swing. And he swung. But Doug didn't make it. Doug went, boom. Once again, right down on his head. So, let me try you. Let's have a wrestling match down here in the den on the carpet. And we would, and I'd wrestle around with him, and I'd say, come on, leave me alone. No, come on, I can beat you. I know I can. I said, no, leave me alone. And he'd keep on, Dave, that sooner or later I'd have to really bear down on him, and I'd have to beat him. Well, Doug, I hope you're listening back there. I hope my family's listening, and I want all these people here and everyone at home to listen. It's time to bear down again. The last few weeks, I've been in the ring with Doug. I've stood back just like I did those weeks whenever I didn't bear down on him. He's tried to get me to hit him. I haven't used my fist on him. And Dave, just like you and the rest of these people know, I am not in any popularity contest. I don't care whether people like me or don't like me. I don't care who I have to wrestle. But when it came to my brother, I didn't want to fight him.
All right, guys, what do you think of that?
I was telling Josh, and I hope this doesn't come off the wrong way because I don't want it to. During that whole interview, and I was real young when this happened, and some things you don't remember and stuff that you don't remember certain cadences and everything. But if I was to close my eyes, there's so much similarities between that interview and like a Lawler interview, like the same kind of cadence, the same storytelling. You can definitely see that there was some influences from Lawler there. It was definitely an interview that you would hear Lawler do, on Memphis TV. It was very calm, very, very precise about what he was going to do. But I was like, man, this sounds like it could be a Lawler promo. But I don't know, maybe I'm alone in that thinking, but just everything about it was just, if I closed my eyes and just kind of listened to it, I'd almost say that was Lawler, and it just goes to show, like how good Eddie was. He could do that same thing. Lawler made money off of that same speech pattern, the same thing. But I thought the interview was really good. It was, a very babyface interview that told a story. We didn't have to be in the living room. We could know exactly what happened in the Gilbert household with him and his brother. Just from that story, we knew 20 years of history.
And that's
anybody with a sibling could relate to that.
Yes.
That's one thing about Eddie too, man. Like when he was a bad guy, a heel, like he was the worst of the worst. You absolutely hated him. Nothing was off the table. But when he was a babyface, good guy, whatever you want to call it, you could hear like the fans, like in the crowd, he's telling the jokes and they're legitly laughing, and a lot of times that does not translate and people just will eat you alive, especially for trying to make a joke or trying to get a laugh or something. But Eddie was always good with that. Even you'll see coming up, like he's doing that when he gets in the ring during the match too. Like he was in a really good mood that day because he was extreme crowd work, having fun. And man, no matter good guy, bad guy, he was tip top.
I guess what I want to say is I don't want to say that he was copying Lawler. I was saying you could probably tell the influence that Lawler had on him for stuff like that. I didn't want it to come off like I was
it's well documented that Eddie Gilbert was heavily influenced by Jerry Lawler. Outside of his father, Tommy Gilbert, it's been, Eddie has said it himself over the years that, he looked up to Jerry Lawler. He was a fan of Jerry Lawler and he patterned a lot of what he did after Jerry Lawler. In fact, I've heard Dutch Mantell say in interviews that Eddie, in his mind, patterned himself after two people, Jerry the King Lawler and Terry Funk. And he said, depending on what night it was, he could stand back here in the dressing room door and he could watch Eddie have a spot on Jerry Lawler match or a spot on Terry Funk match, depending on either what mood Eddie was in or, what the situation called for. So I don't think you're out of line making that comparison at all. And I don't think, Eddie Gilbert would argue that. I thought he did a really good job with this promo here because, like I said, anybody with a sibling, whether you're the younger or the older sibling, you can relate to this promo. But I thought it was well delivered. To Josh's point, when he told the stories, the crowd laughed and they went with him on the story. But then when he got to the serious part of the promo where he said, time to bear down, which I liked that phrasing of it, because, me as the older brother, my little brother was 9 years younger than me. And we like to watch wrestling and UFC and things like that. And he would want to wrestle around and he'd get out of hand. And, I know that exact phrase. All right, it's time to bear down. It's time to shut this shit down. And that's what you would do, It's funny. My wife was in the room when I was watching this for the podcast and she was listening and she knows I'm getting ready to start doing this podcast with Doug Gilbert. And she's like, so I have a question I'd like to submit to the podcast. Ask Doug if those are true stories. Did he really jump off the house and try to fly like Superman? And did he swing out of the tree? So I'll be submitting those questions from Rose Jackson for Doug for the Dangerous Conversations podcast. But yeah, man, I thought this was a good promo.
I don't remember.
That will be the perfect response if he does.
Give him smarten him up to let him know that it was your wife that asked that offline, so he doesn't just go into a tirade. That is the stupidest question.
Listen, bitch. I don't want to go like all Power Pro shoot promo on my old lady. So you may be right. I might need to let him know where that one came from. But as Eddie's wrapping up this promo, you start to hear some familiar music starting to play in the background as I'm Too Sexy by Right Said Fred starts playing. And bless your heart, folks, if you're younger and you weren't around in the 90s and don't remember that song.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Gene, but do you think, though, because like they literally started playing the song probably 15 seconds before Eddie got done with the promo, do you think that was a way of them saying, hey, hurry this shit up?
Oh, yeah. That's like getting the hook. Yeah.
and you could kind of see it in Eddie's face, like because he was trying to he still had more point to get to, but you could see like right there at the end, you could see like, I've had enough of this shit. I'm just gonna get done with it, and you could see he was kind of like, what the hell?
Yeah. I meant to point that out, but I'm glad you did because there definitely was an element of that. Like somebody in the back's like, all right, he's still going, just hit the music, and he did red shirt on his face like, oh, that's what we're doing. All right.
Do you think somebody in the WMC area got a little nervous because they were getting to that point in the song where Right Said Fred says, oh, pussy, pussycat. I'm like, come on, Eddie, wrap it up. We've got 2 seconds before he's going to hit that line.
They're shoving Brian through the curtain back there like, go.
Get out there.
Yeah. So as that music starts playing and Eddie wraps up the promo, here comes Burt Prentice leading out the Southern heavyweight champion Brian Christopher, whose face is bandaged up like the Phantom of the Opera due to this big fireball he caught last Monday night from the King. And I have to say, in theory, I'm more excited for this match on television than perhaps any match we've seen. I mean, we've talked about it here before. Like, we've had a lot of fun watching these shows. There's been a lot of great angles and some memorable stuff, but not in the way of matches. There haven't been a lot of great matches. Most of them have been squash matches, and the ones that weren't squash matches, there wasn't a lot to them. So when I realized, like, hey, we're getting Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert against Brian Christopher in the opening match here today, I was pretty excited about it. How about you guys?
Oh, man, I could not wait. And I don't recall ever seeing those guys, wrestle each other a lot. Maybe before this point, I don't remember it at all. I mean, I could have missed a show
Mhm.
or something, but yeah, it was like it's one of those I've never seen this before. This is going to be extremely exciting.
Well, they announced at the beginning of the show, and I was thinking, okay, well, this will probably be the main event.
Yeah.
And then, like, you hear the music playing, and Brian comes out there, and I'm like, they're doing this now? Like, they're opening the show. Like, who's gonna follow this? Because, like
Yeah.
you said, this is a main event type match that didn't happen a lot.
And then especially with these two in the roles ever, and I think down the line you probably saw some heel Eddie Gilbert versus babyface Brian Christopher matches in 94 and like that. But to see heel Brian against babyface Eddie was definitely an added bonus in my mind. So let's hear some clips from the match, and we'll talk about it a little more on the other side.
Just arriving, Brian Christopher. He's got Bert Prentice behind him. He's going to be in his corner. Brian wearing a bandage over his eye for confidence. Let me tell you that. He's going against a tough one here today. The veteran, hot stuff, Eddie Gilbert, a man who's wrestled all over the world. And as he said a few minutes ago, he's not going to back up from his brother, and he's sure not going to back up from Brian Christopher either. Referee Paul Neighbors has signaled for the bell. And Corey, we're underway. This should be a good one.
Yes, sir, Dave. We are underway with a big day in store for USWA Championship Wrestling.
I don't think that trick's going to work.
Puts his hand out. Eddie shakes his hand, yeah.
Yeah, Eddie does shake his hand, and Brian didn't try to nail him with a fist either. There's a surprise. Let me tell you, I thought Brian would try to smack him.
Gilbert and Brian Christopher. Christopher backs him up against the turnbuckle. Oh, he acted like he was going to give him a clean break. There's the hot stuff strut from Eddie Gilbert. Gilbert backs Christopher up against the turnbuckle. Referee Paul Neighbors gives him the break, and look at Christopher. Comes out with a big flying forearm in there. Christopher comes off with a right hand. And boy, he goes to work on hot stuff, Eddie Gilbert.
Yeah,
Oh,
good move.
good move from Eddie to slingshot him off the rope. Oh, boy. A one count, and Doug Gilbert comes and jumps in the thing. Would you believe it? Gilbert jumping on his brother, Eddie Gilbert.
Looked like Eddie had Brian Christopher set up for the win there. Look at Doug Gilbert pounding Eddie Gilbert. I'm sure he heard what Eddie had to say a few moments ago and didn't take kindly to it. And now it's 2 against 1. Bert Prentice over here celebrating.
Yeah, British, you ought to get him out of there. Doug Gilbert and Brian Christopher double teaming. Hot stuff, Eddie Gilbert in there. And Doug, boy, makes you think he's just gone berserk. Let me tell you.
They got him tied up in a rope.
Hey, Dave, I'm sitting out here listening to people talking about teaching me something. Daddy, I can sing, I can dance. Look at it. You can't teach somebody something that knows everything. I said I'm the king of rock.
All right, we're going to come back to that in a moment. There's another little piece of that, but so we're trying not to be overly critical of things here, but so it's no surprise we definitely have a regular program of having the person the babyface is in an angle with running in on the finish of the match. So right on cue, Eddie hits the hot shot, which I was disappointed that Dave or Corey seemed to know that's what that move was called. But he hits the hot shot on Brian. Seemingly the match is over. So Doug hits the ring, breaks up the pin for the DQ. They do a little bit of double teaming before Doug takes the opportunity to go give his response to Eddie's promo while Brian continues to attack Eddie. I know you guys have got to be as frustrated. I mean, I understand that the Saturday morning show only serves to be a commercial to get you to come to the Monday night matches. But damn, can we have a competitive match between two people that has some sort of finish without somebody running in? I mean, it's crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean, why not utilize a count out or something there? Doug come out, Eddie chases him off, gets counted out. Well, easy way out. But yeah, I mean, immediately when I saw that they were the opening match, I was like, oh, just because Doug's going to come in. Like, even as a kid, I think I could have called that. Like,
And I understand this match lends itself to that finish, but had you not already done it for every competitive match you've had in the last, in 93 so far that we've covered, it's frustrating. It's like, God, I mean, it's like none of these matches are going to mean anything. They're simply just to give these guys an opportunity to screw each other back and forth to set up Monday night's match. But up until then, it was a fun match. I enjoyed it. And like I said, the ending was never really in doubt. Josh, what do you think about these front-end finishes every week?
I'm not a fan, but I think we've seen out of all of these reviews, maybe at the most 2 clean match finishes, maybe 3.
Are you including squash matches or?
Yes, that's including everything. I think it's about up to 2 or 3, but I do enjoy the brother versus brother thing. But like you're saying, if they hadn't done it so many times, as a kid and as a viewer, just trying to view this through the casual lens again, like I'm a complete fan, I am frustrated. It's like, God damn, again, but maybe this coming Monday is the big blow off. Maybe it's going to be it, and they're going to move on to bigger and better things. But
what do you hate more, these unclean finishes or the Harris brothers?
Oh, the Harris brothers, 100%.
Yeah,
and then the double whammy. The double whammy is when the Harris brothers runs in, and then it's just
which is like
nearly explodes.
90% of this show.
Yeah, it ain't over with yet, pal.
No.
So as Brian is working over Eddie, Doug's over on the microphone talking to Dave Brown, and Jeff Jarrett runs in to make the save. But unlike the usual thing where the babyface makes a save, initially Brian cuts Jeff Jarrett off, and Brian starts getting a little bit in on Jeff starts getting a little bit in on Brian. But as that happens, Eddie unties himself from the ropes and he just kind of disappears off screen. And we hear Doug talking, and then all of a sudden this happens.
Hey. Oh, Jeff, stick your nose into my business and you'll get your brains beat out, too, punk. Look at him, it looks real good, don't it?
You had him tied up over in the ropes over there at 2 against 1.
He's about to kill Jeff Jarrett, Dave. Now look at this, he's about to... Hey, boy! Eddie Gilbert just tackled Doug over here. Got him on the floor. Boy, Eddie Gilbert came from nowhere, Dave.
He got loose from the ropes, and all of a sudden I looked up, and here's Eddie Gilbert flying through the air at Doug Gilbert. Here's Eddie trying to get them separated. Jeff is over to help out. We'll get them apart. We'll be back with more from the USWA. You stay with us.
My favorite part of that is you see Brian get out of the ring and go jogging in that direction. You think, oh, he's on his way to save Doug. No, he blows right past him. Eddie Marlin and Jeff has to pull Eddie off of Doug.
What about Doug? Doug sold that so well. Like the little brother that's pinned down. He was doing that kicking, like, go get off of me. Get off. Dude, that I thought was ingenious because they are painting the picture of Doug being the little brother that's getting a little bit too big for his britches. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we needed Tommy Gilbert there in the role of Eddie Marlin pulling Eddie off of Doug, because I assume that's probably how that played out at home a few times over the years back when, Doug was a little smart ass kid. But yeah, they've played this perfectly so far. So good match. Like I said, I think that finish worked for that match. It just sucks that we've seen it so many times leading into it, but we're not going to harp on that. But as per the usual, they do things a little backwards. We saw Brian come through the curtain with his face bandaged up. And now, after that first match of seeing him wrestle with a bandaged face, now we're going to see how he got the bandaged face. So let's take a look. Last Monday night, the Mid-South Coliseum, the big tag team match, Brian Christopher and the narcissist Lex Luger against Jeff Jarrett and Jerry the King Lawler.
Christopher gets a tag on Luger, and Jarrett tags the King. Strap comes out, and look at Jerry Lawler. Left and right to send Luger down. Now it's Christopher.
stays in there. Jarrett whips Christopher into the rope. Picks him up and drops him down face first. What a move from Jeff Jarrett. Slams Christopher into the turnbuckle. Hey, Jerry Lawler's got Lex Luger, and he falls, draws the narcissist. Lawler falls, draws Luger over there, and the King says, wait just 1 minute, though. Lawler looks like he may have fire in there. Trying to tell Luger, hey, oh boy, come on, 22-50, 23-50 rather. The King, Jerry Lawler, burns fine Christopher in there as Lex Luger tried to get out of the way. Oh boy, and it all breaks loose. Bruise Brothers, Ron and Don Harris jump on Lawler and Jarrett, along with Lex Luger, and they jump on downtown Bruno too. Oh boy, they got Bruno laid out. Now Bruno is the Bruise Brothers with that chair nailing away on downtown Bruno with it. Samples and all of them in here. Boy, we got to get this kind of stuff broken up. Bruise Brothers, Ron and Don Harris, Bert Prentice and Mike Samples.
Now there's a couple of things to talk about there, but first let's take a look at step by step the progression of this fireball right here. So there's where it starts. There's where he gulps both of them, it looks like, and then there it is.
Jeez,
surrounding Brian's face. Wow. But that's not the big thing that stood out to me. I want to see if you guys drew the same assumption I did. So before I follow up on that statement, just tell me what you guys both think coming out of that clip.
So the one thing we were talking about during that clip was it felt like the Bruise Brothers were trying to snap Bruno's leg, and Lawler kept like grabbing like trying to grab him and saying, "Stop! These blows are not going to be believable because you should be able to snap Bruno's leg with this chair, and he's got to walk Saturday morning. So you're not going to snap his leg. Stop doing it."
Yeah, the first time I watched this clip, I thought, okay, so after watching the Harris brothers pinpoint Bruno's legs, I assumed that he would come crawling into the studio, dragging his legs behind him like Rick James after the Murphy brothers got a hold of him back in the day. But that's not how this played out, is it? Bruno's perfectly fine. So that felt weird because, I mean, not only did he beat his legs, but at one point he's taking the chair and just grinding it into his leg right above the knee. And I was like, well, this has got to be an angle to break Bruno's leg for some reason.
Yeah.
When we were watching that back, I just looked over at him and I said, that just hurts. Like, why the fuck are they doing that? You know, like, and as soon as they started, I turned it. Why are they just instinctively going after his little ass legs?
Yeah.
Usually, if you're in that position, it's like, work me over on the back or just something. But like, they just went to the front of the top of his legs. They weren't, you know.
Do you think that they were supposed to look like they were trying to hurt his leg, and at the last minute Lawler grabs the chair, kind of like when they put the chair around the ankle and they do the stomp, and in the last minute right before they can do the stomp, somebody grabs the bad guy and beats him up and gets him out of there? Do you think they were trying to do that so they had an angle to bring in who they're going to bring in, and they just misheard?
Maybe. I mean, because I remember thinking as I'm watching this, like over the years, I've only seen people hone in on a particular body part and work it over to that extent. If this was an angle to put him out of the territory, like, oh, he got his leg. Like, I remember at one point, I think one of the Moondogs or somebody years ago, they were like, oh, they broke his leg and he's not, the Moondogs are going to be gone for a while. And usually there was, either they were going to come out in a wheelchair or in a cast, or they were leaving the territory. But neither one of those things happened here. The only thing I can figure is Bruno is taking the same vitamins that makes Richard Lee's arm immune to all the chair shots and stomping that he's taken the last few weeks. Because, I've pointed out, there's weeks where they've stretched his arm out, and both Harris brothers, Mike Samples and Burt Prentice, have just stomped his arm into a fine powder. Not only did he not show up with his arm in a sling, he rolled out of the ring and cut a freaking promo afterwards. More than once. That's happened a couple of different times. So, I hate to say this, but stuff like this from the manager, and I love Downtown Bruno, but stuff like this from the managers make the Harris brothers look like a couple of giant pussies right before we bring in this person we're about to bring in. And speaking of that, let's hear from Bruno and Double J and the King and see exactly who they're bringing in this week to avenge Bruno's unbroken leg.
Well, Jeff Jarrett and Downtown Bruno have joined me here just as we wrap up the highlights of that.
What a great crowd we got today. They are fired up today. Dave, when I was watching that tape, the first thing I thought when it came to my mind, I thought of the song Great Balls of Fire.
I want to say a few words to Ron and Don Harris. I don't know if you guys realize it or not, but you've bought yourself some big problems. I'm standing beside a big face right here, but and you are going to think that this man's face is this big that you're going to have to get in the ring with Monday night. Downtown Bruno got on the phone and called his big friend. That's right, the Giant Gonzalez. Now, when I say big, I am talking big. I'm talking bigger than Andre the Giant, who was 7 feet 4 inches tall. Well, this Giant Gonzalez is 8 feet tall. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Get done.
Well, it's just like this. Like Jeff said, Brian Christopher has some friends in low places. But you see, Dave, I got some friends in high places. I mean, way up there high. Because the Giant Gonzalez has a hand bigger than my whole body. The man wears a size 24 boot. This man is over 8 foot tall, and he happens to be a real good friend of Downtown Bruno's. I promise you this, there won't be nothing left of Brian Christopher, and I'm planning on leaving that Coliseum and going back home to Walls, Mississippi, and telling everybody that they don't have to look at Brian Christopher anymore. And you know why? Because it's like Mama says.
It bees that way sometimes.
Jerry, we need you to get over to Lane Bryant and take a promo shot in front of that large Amazonian woman they have.
That's all I could think was, so did Lawler just happen to be wherever that wall is and implement it into the promo, or did he go, we got to find somewhere where there's a giant face on the wall where I can then compare it to Giant Gonzalez? But it was a stretch. It's a woman's face, obviously, at like a beauty salon, or like you say, Lane Bryant, or God knows where. You're going to think this man's face is as big as this woman's face on this wall beside me here. Like, very odd. But, so they've announced that the 8 foot tall Giant Gonzalez is going to be their partner, which it makes sense because, he's associated with Bruno, Harvey Whippleman, if you will, and the WWF. But now, for context, if we're watching this in real time in 1993, we only know Giant Gonzalez from being El Gigante in WCW, and I'm sure we're all hoping if we're USWA or WWF, let's hope they don't remember that. Otherwise, we only know him as this giant guy in this absurd-looking airbrushed bodysuit who showed up at the Royal Rumble and killed The Undertaker, as far as we know at this time. And now he's fixing to come in as the big babyface savior of our heroes, Jeff Jarrett, Jerry Lawler, and Downtown Bruno. What do you guys think of us bringing in the Giant Gonzalez here?
Dude, Memphis is the upside down, just like on Stranger Things. No matter whatever it is at the big company, it is the opposite whenever it comes to Memphis. And even back then, I remember, well, he's a bad guy, but at least he's going to help Jerry and Jeff. You know what I mean? Like, that was the only thing. And Bruno's got control of him. So, and you talking about we knew, he was El Gigante from the back in the day. Like I remember in real time back then, he's not 8 feet tall, he's 7'7". That's what Gary Michael said. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
I knew they were exaggerating that, but still, he was gonna crush the Harris brothers. I can't wait.
Well, we know if the Harris brothers can't break Bruno's leg, they're not breaking his
Yeah.
giant legs.
If you get hurt by a Ron or Don Harris chair shot, that's on you because you've done something wrong. My biggest thing about El Gigante or Giant Gonzalez coming in, as a kid, I think Memphis played on those Mason-Dixon line, Southern route type things where they were like, hey, New York is New York. They're crazy up there. So they're going to paint us in a picture to when we go up there, it's going to make me look like a bad guy, but I'm just telling them how it is and how those Yankees look at things is not the right way. So that was how I always rationalized Lawler being a bad guy on TV, even though I knew that wasn't right. But, at the same time, I'm like, well, that's how you do it. Giant Gonzalez is bad up there, but he's fighting against those Yankee values, So Argentina, you can't get more Southern than that, right? He's one of us.
You always hear those stories about the WWF, creative department and everything. And it's like, I just imagine Vince McMahon seeing like a picture of El Gigante, and it's like, God damn, he doesn't have any muscles. We need to get him some muscles. And they're like, what if we just airbrush some on a skin tone bodysuit? Because the initial suit had all that hair, like fur on the front of. Eventually, the fur was even airbrushed on, but the initial suit that he's wearing at Royal Rumble, it's just he's got like no genitalia, just a lot of fur in the front. And I was like, man, put some trunks over the bodysuit. Like that's disturbing. This big, huge man bush in the front of the suit is disturbing. I can't even see what he's doing to the Undertaker because I can't get past that.
Looking like a Playboy from the 70s out there.
Yeah,
just all nothing but hair. Can't even see nothing for all the hair.
He got that giant bush because he's a giant.
But we see why he's so mad now. That's why he's out here trying to kill people. All right, so the John Gonzalez is coming this Monday night. Right now, let's take our first podcast commercial break of the episode. And when we come back, we will hear from Brian and Christopher and friends.
Hey guys, this is Wolfie D from PG-13. Check out my podcast, Live and in Color with Wolfie D, every Monday at noon. We're talking Memphis, we're talking ECW, WCW, WWF, everywhere that I've been. We even have some great guests, some Hall of Famers on the show with us. Every Monday at noon, Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school, but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Sheik, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
This is Wrestling Nostalgia, the podcast that dives into wrestling history. Hey, wrestling fans, I'm Dave Dynasty, and if you enjoy podcasts that are knowledgeable and history-driven, then Wrestling Nostalgia is for you. With great guests and fun interviews, there are over 200 episodes in our archives. We chat with several first-time guests and often cover topics not discussed on other podcasts. Look up Wrestling Nostalgia on your favorite podcast platform and visit all of our links at linktree/wrestlepod. That is linktr.ee/RASSLEPOD. And remember, wherever you go, whatever you do, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.
All right, so when we come back from break, not only here, but on the actual television show, Burt Prentice, Brian Christopher, and the Bruise Brothers come out, and Burt Prentice is pretty fired up in this promo. Not since Bubba Johnson has he been this mad in a promo recently. So let's hear what these guys have to say now that they know that they've got a giant problem coming. And I have to say, I forgot to mention it a moment ago, but my favorite line from all the promo from Jarrett, Lawler, and Bruno was Bruno's line about they got friends in low places, but he's got friends in high places. That was pretty good. So nice play on words there from Harvey. Let's listen to what Brian and them have to say.
You know, you bring out that tape of the Giant Gonzalez like that's some big deal. Everybody wants to tell. Well, of course he's going to do that to a flunky like The Undertaker. But do you understand, Monday night, you're not coming to Memphis to fight no Undertaker. You're coming to fight three of the meanest, most rotten human beings on God's green earth. And I guarantee you, when that Giant gets in the ring Monday and sees these guys, I have a sneaking suspicion he's going to put his tail between his legs and run out of the building, if you know what I mean.
Well, I think you're...
This right here is why Jerry Lawler is not here today. It's because last Monday night at the Mid-South Coliseum, Jerry Lawler took a big fireball and threw it in my face. Me, of all people, you had to burn me. You know, Dave, I don't know if I will be permanently scarred from this. I don't know if the skin will ever grow back the way it was before. But Jerry Lawler, I showed up today. I'm standing here in living color. I didn't stay at home. And another thing, I've come looking for you. They look at us, they look up, and they take a step back, and they say, good God, give them some big men. Bring in the 8-foot man. Stand him up against the two of us, and we'll just see how big and how bad and how nasty you are, Gonzalez.
Well, the word from the Harris brothers and Brian Christopher and Bert Prentice.
So Bert's fired up and shitting on the Undertaker. What do you guys think of that?
Oh, Dave, he looked kind of nervous too. Oh, what? He don't want
like, oh, come on, guys, don't talk about the Undertaker.
I mean, come down here and kick all our ass.
He's pretty fired up, though. I mean,
yes,
like, it's kind of like a babyface promo. Like Josh said, Memphis is the upside down. Like earlier, we watched the clip of Lawler throwing the fire. He had hit his power driver. There was no need to throw the fire. That's a heel move. And then, then you got Bert Prentice coming out there throwing one of those. I mean, that was very Paul Heyman-esque type promo that will get you fired up and going. It's like, yeah, you know, these big guys going to come in here and think they're going to kick us around. You're going to fight three of the meanest guys on God's green earth. And it's like, well, that's a football speech.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out too, because I meant to mention that. I got sidetracked with the fireball and then the chair across the leg. You know, Lawler, I would have never guessed in a million years that Lawler was going to hit a pile driver on Lex Luger. Like, that completely floored me when that happened. I was like, so we built up to having to throw the fireball because that was going to be the only offense he could really pull off on Luger, because we painted a picture of how much he's going to be overwhelmed by the body of Lex Luger. And then now we're just get out there and pile drive him. And then now the fireball is just the icing on the cake.
Yeah, as a setup move. The power driver was a setup move to get him in position. That's crazy.
Because let's not forget what they said before that match.
I got to admit, Jeff, I am so impressed with this man's body.
I'm going to break you open like a hot biscuit, boy.
Maybe that's why Bert's so mad. Jeff didn't deliver on that promise. He didn't break anybody open like a hot biscuit, boy. But yeah, even in his Bubba Johnson promos, he wasn't that fired up as he was. And the fact that he took a moment to dunk on the Undertaker just felt so, out of place. But
am I wrong here? After that promo, was the crowd not chanting Bruise Brothers?
They were chanting something. I couldn't make it out.
Bruise Brothers. It's like, did Bert just work them into you know what? They are underdogs in this.
Well, And to that point as well, Bert came off like a baby face, and then Brian's like, look at this. I took fire to the face, and I'm here, Jerry Lawler. This is why you ain't here. So basically, he's calling Lawler a coward that he had to go shoot a promo next to a wall somewhere, undisclosed location in Memphis. But by God, he's here with his face burned off. The skin may never grow back, guys, even though he was able to put athletic tape directly on it.
That seems painful.
Seems like the worst way to heal your
Well,
burned up
you
face.
know, like
I'm no doctor.
At least throw some Neosporin on it or something. Jesus, Brian.
during this time, though, athletic tape was the cure-all. It was like if you got any kind of injury, just throw some tape on it. You're good to wrestle.
Like that old Chris Rock joke. Put some Robitussin on it and some athletic tape.
Down it.
Let
That
all
was the
tussin get in
wrestling
there.
tussie.
Let that tussin soak in there, boy. And then, of course, the Harris brother gave his same fired up yelling promo that he gives every week that neither inspires or impresses anyone. They look at us and say we're big men, so bring an 8-foot tall man in here and we're gonna beat him up. Like, shut up! You couldn't break Bruno's leg with a steel chair. What you gonna do to a giant, you loser? Shut up! Like, let Burt Prentice do all the manly talk here this week, okay? He didn't call nobody honey or nothing. I mean, he was just just all about it this week. So I was pretty pleased with that promo. So they put some heat on the old 6-man tag. And so now we're ready for match number 2. And again, the way we've been doing lately, the other week we had Lawler and Jarrett just swapped opponents on TV. They wrestled the 2 opponents on TV that then they were each going to wrestle on the Coliseum show. So what does that mean? We're going to see Dirty Doug Gilbert, the king of rock and roll, take on old Jeff Jarrett. So let's see how that played out. And I will say, we did change things up a little.
And we are set to go with a 1-fall, 15-minute time limit match. We had a good one a couple of minutes ago, and this one shaped up to be a pretty good one, too.
Indeed, Doug Gilbert and Jeff Jarrett. Jeff backs him up and whips Doug into the ropes. Ooh, Doug goes under. Oh, boy, look at this.
Well, Doug has been doing that celebration thing here for the last few weeks.
He calls that a dance. Boy, that's a dance.
No, I don't like that too much, Doug. And then he goes down on one knee, sort of that Elvis imitation after a couple of the karate kicks and stuff. But
he whips Jeff in. Jeff comes off and a big hip toss on him. There he goes. Calls himself the king of rock and roll, Doug Gilbert. On Jarrett.
I think Eddie agrees with us, too. I think Eddie's kind of wondering what's wrong with Doug again.
I think you're right. We're all left in limbo about Doug Gilbert. Boy, he is with a chop there on Jeff.
Doug using that fist. Got Jeff.
Jarrett, Doug Gilbert just picks him up off the ropes. Oh, boy.
Oh, my goodness. Jeff went after him with a clothesline. Doug ducked out of the way, and the referee was right there. That was totally unintentional on Jeff's part.
Hey, look at this. Here comes Brian Christopher. Got the chain. Doug nails Jeff Jarrett. Referee Kevin Christian still out, though.
Look across the ring. That's Eddie Gilbert.
Whoa. Doug finally woke up in there after Eddie wakes him up.
The Harris brothers have hit the ring, and Jeff Jarrett.
Oh, boy.
It's 2 against 1. Mike Samples has sent him in there as the Harris brothers are double teaming Jeff Jarrett.
Eddie Marlin, you better get another man in here, because they're about to end Jeff Jarrett's career. Hurt that sissy. Hurt that sissy.
Hey, here comes some help. Bruno passes a metal chair to Jeff Jarrett.
So, the big takeaway from that is, guys, you didn't need to pay an 8-foot giant from the WWF to come out here to handle the Harris brothers. All you need is Bruno and one steel chair, and they run for the hills. They're out of here.
I just want to highlight
did everything from that promo.
I want to highlight Kevin Christian's ability to fall in small spaces. Like, I've never seen anyone.
I've seen one person. I've seen one person, other person, Josh. I think you're leaving that out of the story.
So I'm pretty good at falling in small spaces too. Like I could be in a broom closet and somehow end up sideways. Got really drunk one night with Richard had to be my babysitter, and he turned to close the door, and I was in the gutter between the car, mind you, and I felt like a blob of clothes. It was just
Have you ever seen a one of those implosions of a building where it just falls straight down? Man lost all his bones and fell straight down into the alleyway. I don't know how he did it.
You thought that was the damnedest shit you ever saw till you saw Kevin Christian get clotheslined. And that son of a bitch did a complete flip and landed on his. He could have done that in a broom closet. Like, and he just stayed folded. He stayed folded up for like 5 minutes.
What I'm hearing is we need to book Josh versus Kevin Christian in a phone booth somewhere. I'm hearing you guys could have actually had a decent match in that bungee cord match that Mike Davis and them had in Global back in the day. That was the worst thing I've ever seen happen on a wrestling show.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah. I could not get past that bump. That was the damnedest shit I'd ever seen. And he had so much movement in that little tiny space, because whenever Jeff comes for the clothesline, Kevin's at the most 2 feet off of the ropes. At the most. Yeah. And he had to do all that shit and get folded up. And then you get the Harris brothers coming in there.
Notice the disdain in his voice when he just said the name, and he's like, "The Kevin." Then you get the Harris brothers.
You get the Harris brothers, and it all went to shit.
It did until now. The clip didn't show it, but I know about this because I rewound it at least 10 times when I was rewatching the show. One of the Harris brothers, I'm not sure who it was, but they threw a fit after the save came, after Eddie came and Bruno with the chair and all that. And they were out there they grab the desk chair at one point and just place it awkwardly into the ring. And then they set it back up and they go back to grab something else. And somehow one of the camera cords or the mic cords gets tangled around one of their feet and they almost bust their ass. And I mean, he trips and has to catch himself, and the crowd pops. And that was the biggest pop out of any of this shit since the Harris brothers showed up that they have gotten thus far. Was one of them almost busting his ass. And it made me so happy.
We're gonna have to plug that into next week's show or something.
But I swear to you, I at least rewound it 10 times and just laughed my ass off.
I don't question that one bit. I do not doubt you at all when you say 10 times.
Yeah.
So the other takeaway from this match is at this point, holy, Doug is leaning into this King of Rock and Roll thing. Like, I can't wait. Like, the very first thing I want to ask Doug, and I'm working on getting him on this very podcast soon to talk about this feud with Eddie, is tell me about the King of Rock and Roll. Like, what's the concept here? Like, how did this come about? Because, he's feuding with Eddie, and Eddie doesn't have any, there's no context to the rock and roll thing. Like, Eddie's not Honky Tonk Man or anything. Like, I don't understand where it fits into this feud, and I see like Dave and them will just call him Dirty Doug Gilbert. But then when he starts doing those dances and stuff, they kind of have to, hey, call this out the King of Rock and Roll. I don't know what the fuck he's dancing like that for. But I'm just curious if that was supposed to be going somewhere and then we moved away from it. I know I've heard a story about Jerry Jarrett was trying to get him booked on some foreign tours to replace the Honky Tonk Man for the WWF on some foreign tours. So that would make sense for the gimmick, but I don't really know why he's getting it over on Memphis TV or trying to. But anyway, I look forward to asking him about that. But pretty good little match here, and at least we put a twist on. It wasn't just straight up, the Harris brothers or Brian, just ran in. The referee takes this awkward bump that Josh has described perfectly here. That he gets tapped with Jeff's arm in the clothesline, and he immediately turns a flip like Sid. Running clothesline, and so he's down. So Brian comes out, hands Doug the chain. Doug lays out Jeff, and then Eddie comes in. So at least we put a little bit of a twist on the interference finish. So I do respect that we tried to do something a little different. But I just find it funny that we're trying to build up the Harrises and Brian Christopher as a plausible threat for Lawler, Jarrett, and the Giant Gonzalez. But all it took was Bruno handing one chair off to Jarrett, and they run for the heels, and they're out there, tripping over themselves and making a laughing stock of themselves. The segment ends, but people are going to show up anyway, right? I think.
Hopefully.
So we're going to talk about that a little later on. So after the commercial break, Eddie Marlin brings out a belt and announces that they are starting a USWA middleweight division that will be wrestlers who weigh 199 pounds or less. But the big twist, guys, as if this was an M. Night Shyamalan movie, it will include lady wrestlers, as he put it. And Eddie Marlin and Dave, this is 1993, so they're both they both say they're pretty skeptical about women competing with men. But Eddie Marlin then says it's 1993. So they're very forward thinking.
Well, he's already made clear
let them vote. We might as well let them wrestle men, right?
What was it? 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago? Eddie said, "I will not hit a woman, but I will yank her hair and I will spank her fanny."
Yeah,
that's right.
So,
it means something totally different in England, by the way.
True. If Adrian Street was here, when he got to the back, he'd be like,
"Yeah, you're gonna do what now?"
Oh my, Linda, hide from Eddie Marlin. But Miss Texas comes out and announces she will be in the tournament because there's no competition in the women's division right now. She shits on Lauren Davenport and Leslie Ballinger and all the great women athletes that they have here in the USWA that apparently since Mike Miller has moved on,
I figured
kind of
both
without anything to
ladies
do, literally.
You figure both Lauren and what's the other one's name? Lauren Davenport and Leslie Ballinger.
Yeah.
Both of them would have went with Mike the way he was talking.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, because they're just there for one thing, and I think you guys know what it is. I'm not going to say it out loud, but it wasn't a wrestling match.
No.
So you don't really get a good look at it here. The following week, when the new champion wears it out, they zoom it in on it. But I'm curious, have we just took that global light heavyweight title that Uncle Danny made off with and repurposed it for this? Is that what's happening?
Man, this is like the third time it's been repurposed, and it ain't the last either. That title would go on to be the very first Ohio Valley wrestling title, because I used to play with it all the time.
How many times did you and Richard swap that title back and forth in your yard at some point?
I'll do it at least 2 or 3.
Well, I lost the hair match.
And he said that you can go, if you find our podcast, it's like back in 2018 when Uncle Danny came on our show. He said that he figured we were in there rummaging around his room, and because he would use my grandmother's house as like a base whenever he would come back and stuff. He would go somewhere else and come back.
Yeah.
And we would go in there and
Pilfer with this shit.
We would, hey, these are vitamins and all this. We would get like his outfits, anything that we thought would be cool to wear at the time.
Beat up wrestling buddies in the living room.
Yep. And if we had like a tag team situation, I had that old WCW foam belt. And then we would have the global belt.
I always got stuck with the foam belt.
His ass was the foam belt champion. I was always the global.
And I was a fat kid. I couldn't wear the foam belt.
You got to be the foam belt Texas champion, Richard.
Oh man,
that belt don't mean shit that Brian just carries around for fun. And you got to be the master of terror.
Oh man,
but dude,
why does this one have a zipper on the front?
Talking about that particular show, whenever he came on, we specifically asked him, because I've never heard him kind of say what happened, but we specifically asked, what happened with Global and why did you leave and take the title? And he fucking acted like he couldn't remember or anything like that. So I still don't know.
Still
but
might get booked there, so you don't want to burn a bridge.
They gifted me that for being such a great champion.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what happened.
It's like, Danny, nobody can beat you for this title, so just take this with you back to Memphis. And
right.
Eddie's gonna jack the North American title. We're gonna have no freaking belts down here.
Yeah.
All right, so to give us a little sampling of what we can expect in this tournament, where potentially there could be a woman versus a man. Now, in the first round, as we'll find out when Dave runs down the card in a little bit, it's going to be woman versus woman in the first round of this middleweight title tournament. But right here, we're going to see Miss Texas taking on the Shadow. So let's see how Miss Texas fares against a man in a wrestling match, as Eddie Marlin says.
I entered the middleweight division because in the women division, you have Lauren Davenport and Leslie Ballinger. That's not competition. I'm a better athlete than they are. But I tell you what, I might not be able to beat all the guys, if any, but I'm going to give them a run for their money.
Well, I don't have any doubt about this. Said, hey, we deserve a shot at winning the tournament, not a special ladies division and all of that. So put us in there, and you heard Eddie Marlin say it. He said, okay, that's the way it's going to be.
And that's what we got now, Miss Texas. Oh, Shadow Wicks. Fingers right across the eyes of Miss Texas. This Shadow comes in out of parts unknown, choking Miss Texas over there. That'll be a break for Miss Texas. This Miss Texas up in there. Sets the Shadow up. Picks up the Shadow. Look at that. This, would you? Wow. Miss Texas picks the Shadow up. Slams him down. Just with the knee, and boy, it's a harder day for the Shadow than he thought it'll be. Against Miss Texas. Boy, she's up on the top rope now. Shadow out, and a big splash from Miss Texas. She got it. 1, 2, 3. Miss Texas, your winner. Boy, she's some kind of tough, let me tell you.
Superfly ain't got nothing on Miss Texas. Look at that.
No knees involved.
Crash.
Yeah, foreshadow.
I love how the fact they're like, yeah, women can do everything men can do, but the guy that's going to lose to Miss Texas is going to be head to clad, so you can't even see that it's a male under there.
Well, no, sure, that could have been anybody.
Yeah.
I told Richard while we were watching this back, I mean, come on. Why did they not get like Tony Williams or somebody to be the Shadow for this particular match for TV?
Yeah.
Because that would have made the size scaling at least similar. And I'm not shitting on Tony Williams. I mean, for real, you know how tall he is. Yeah. He would have been perfect. Put him into that whole garb. You wouldn't know who it is. I mean, because it could be Bill Rush. You never know. But like somebody where it didn't look like she was beating somebody a foot taller than her. Yeah. You know, that would have made more sense for the old school minded people that were more than likely watching this. I mean, I thought it was great when I was watching it at the time, but I imagine there were people that, why they got a woman in there? You know what I mean?
If you want to play a fun game, go back on the YouTube channel and watch this whole episode and watch Miss Texas's promo and keep an eye on Corey Macklin behind her as he's struggling. You see his eyes go down and then up and then down and then up. Oh, you'll see you looking. Don't look at her butt. Don't look. Oh, there it is. Over there. He's going up and down, up and down. He's trying his best not to look at her. I'm sure she called him out on that at some point. But it's always fun in these promos, folks, if you watch the whole shows, is to watch Corey in the background selling what they say, watching Dave mug to the camera sometimes, selling what they say. It's it adds a whole new element to these. So if you haven't picked up on that yet, definitely watch their faces in these promos because it's a lot of fun, in my opinion, anyway.
I will say, am I wrong in thinking, and now that, you know, we're in this day and age where everybody's bigger, faster, stronger, $199 seems very light. It almost felt like they were burying Mr. Uncle Danny by saying, like, I would have said like maybe 230 and under, you know, because I think of somebody that's 230 is thin and, you know, like athletic build, you know, but 199 just seems really low, does it not?
Well, I guess to be able to justify having Miss Texas and Leslie Ballinger and Lauren Davenport in the matches to start with, because I don't figure they're 230, are they?
No. Did they ever get any short Americans in this tournament? Do we
I don't think so.
Little people?
No, I don't think so. I don't. Eventually, while that title was still around, you may have had Little Eagle or Midget D or somebody go for the belt. I don't remember. We'll hopefully see that soon enough. But so then we get our weekly promo battle with Richard Lee and there's Richard Lee. Well, he disappeared. There's Richard Lee in his fancy suit with the gold guitars on it. He comes out, and of course, you know, Mike Samples makes his way out, and
I love
They
that.
talk
Looks
smack
like
back and
just
forth.
yelling in Dave's ear.
And look at the disgust on Corey's face there in the bottom corner. He's like, "This shit again? Come on!
I'm tired of it, Dave. I'm
How
tired of it.
many weeks can the Moondogs wrestle the Harris brothers?" So,
I feel like
so,
we're
you
just
know,
playing reruns at this point, Jerry.
if we can pick one good match they had, and just show that one every week. So, of course, you know they've got a they get into it. It breaks down into somewhat of a fight, I guess you could call it. Because despite the fact that the Harris brothers have already been advertised to be in a 6-man tag that I'm assuming is going to be the main event, you think that gets you off the hook? You think you're not going to see the Harris brothers wrestle the Moondogs? I don't think so. You're going to see. Don't worry. USWA is putting on a show. You're going to see the Harris brothers wrestle the Moondogs. It's going to happen. So, yes, once again, they're going to wrestle. So we let Mike Samples and Richard Lee get into a fight down on the ground. He's straddling him like Eddie and Doug were just a little short while ago. So don't you worry. We're going to keep our consecutive weeks of every week having a Moondogs versus the Bruise Brothers match is going to be intact. So
Do you think what happened was because they're twins, they accidentally, just by no fault of their own, double paid the Harris brothers? Like they came in and gave one 2 times the money, and the other one was like, "I didn't get anything, brother. You paid my brother twice." And they're like, "Oh shit, well, we'll pay you again, but you're going to work twice next week."
So in this segment, and I apologize for not having a clip of it. I know you guys are going to be bummed out, especially Josh. But believe it or not, once again, the Harris brothers and Mike Samples triple team Richard Lee. I guess the Moondogs have made their second trip to the gym now because they weren't here again wherever they were at. Luckily, we didn't make the absurd statement that, "Oh, they're at the gym today." So the resident runners in, the resident babyface, this is to make the save. Jeff Jarrett, Eddie Gilbert had to run out here and save Richard Lee from a beat down from the Harris brothers. But don't worry, as we've learned in recent weeks, Richard Lee is completely immune to beatings from the Harris brothers and Mike Samples. He's perfectly fine. So not a problem at all. So once we get that cleaned up, Corey Macklin tells us about all the USWA action coming out of town, as they say. And once Corey gets through telling us about that, what do you think we need, guys? You know what we need. We need more Mike Samples. So now Mike Samples is back out here, and he comes out to tell us about the hair versus hair aspect of this week's match, because not only are the Moondogs going to wrestle the Harris brothers again, but this time both managers' hair is on the line. In the last couple of weeks, 1 week, one of the managers' hair would be on the line against the belts. The team whose manager didn't have his hair up would win. We did that back and forth a couple of weeks. So now this week, both managers' hair is on the line. We're guaranteed to have somebody's head shaved because, guys, I think we can all agree, if there's one thing we haven't seen enough of in recent months here in the USWA, it's freaking hair matches. You know what I mean? Like, we just have not seen enough hair versus hair matches. So let's do it again. Let's see. Are we going to see a ball-headed Richard Lee, or are we going to see a ball-headed Michael Samples?
Too bad they can't put a stipulation on this to where I care.
Yeah,
I
mean,
you must care about this match. That's the stipulation.
And again, we try not to be too critical, but it's like, y'all couldn't take a 1 week break. We finally got the Harris brothers into something else that doesn't involve the Moondogs, and we couldn't take 1 week off from having these two teams wrestle. I mean, the Moondogs aren't even here today, so let's just skip this week. Nope.
Well, it's Mike Samples' fault for attacking Richard Lee like every fucking week, and then Richard Lee's Moondogs get pissed, and Mike Samples has to, I got the Harris brothers.
Yeah. And they don't show up. Somebody threw baloney with Quaaludes in the hall, and they ate it and fell asleep.
Clearly, Mike Samples writes roast jokes about Richard Lee and the Moondogs every week, and he has to get them in on television. He is like, if I go 1 week without calling them the Moon Hogs, I just don't know what I'm going to do. Although I was a fan of his line about Richard Lee gets his suits out of the dumpster behind Goodwill or whatever it was he said a couple weeks ago. feels pretty spot on. That feels like one of them shoots, like they say, brother. But anyway, after about 4 or 5 weeks now of seeing the videos each week, the rap videos, PG-13 are going to make their way out into the studio live for the very first time. So let's see what these guys have to say before we see their debut television match.
The hip hop team, PG-13.
Well, Dave Brown is what y'all been looking for. It's PG-13 in the house, homies. Yo, what's up, Corey, bro? Give me some skin, my man. What's happening, brother? You know, Corey, look, Oreo, what's up, homie? But you know, we here to talk about this middleweight tournament. You know, it's like we lightweight, we heavyweight, we in between weight, we middle. Matter of fact, we can't wait, bro. PG-13 is what's up in 1993. You tell them what's up with us, look, man.
Just tell them that after we get done with that middleweight, boy, we're going straight to the tag team championship. PG-13
is in the house, bro. Yeah. Come on, Corey, show you got some rhythm, brother.
Well, they're going. They're entered in the middleweight tournament as single wrestlers, and they say whichever one of them wins.
Corey.
We middleweight, heavyweight, man, we can't wait. Oh, Jamie Dundee. Corey looked less than amused by PG-13. What are you guys' thoughts on their first time on the mic out here?
I love how they singled out Corey and just treated him. That's so different than they did Dave. They like shook up with Corey and everything. They walk out, they're like, "What's up, Dave? Corey, my man." They put the hat on him and all that shit. Oh, I love it.
But you love that. You know what? And I sent you this message earlier this week, you and Josh. And it's baffling because for me, rap was starting to take off right here. And you'll hear the crowd later on. They kind of get behind, PG-13 with the hey ho type stuff and, all that stuff. And my thoughts were, has there ever been a musical gimmick in Memphis that was babyface? Like, because they're supposed to be the rap guys. It's like, who had the hard on? Was it Lawler that was just like, you know what? How you make somebody a heel? You make them a music fan. If they're a fan of music, they are heels because you got Jimmy Hart, Honky Tonk Man. Now you got the King of Rock and Roll, the Rock and Roll Phantom, PG-13.
But then Rock and Roll Express. Yeah, that was like the only one. And they weren't like instrument,
but they never. Yeah, I'd say they never claimed to be rock and rollers though. They just tied bandanas around their shiny britches. But I guess the only exception to that is when Lawler himself used to make those songs and videos in the 70s. But I think he was still a heel at that point, wasn't he? I don't think he put out any songs once he was a babyface. Maybe Jimmy Valiant might have been the exception at some point, but no, you're right. I racked my brain after you sent that. Yeah, fun fact, folks, that we have a group text that we talk to each other throughout the week about notes about the show and different things. Nice. And I spent the rest of the day racking my brain like I can't give an example of any babyface music related wrestlers other than, like you say, Rock and Roll Express. But Rock and Roll Express waited until they got to the Carolinas before Ricky started trying to sing on stage, the old boogie woogie dance hall. Thank God Memphis was spared of that. and
PG-13, when they stopped rapping, they were babies.
Yeah. Then
the boogie woogie man, I guess, was Jimmy Valiant was kind of a rocking like type guy, and he was a heel. It makes you think, it's like, what happened to Lawler at like art school? Or did he ever run in with some musicians and he was like, nope, done with it, not on my show?
Some band nerds beat up the art nerds, and he's held a grudge ever since, it seems.
Even in car rides with Lawler, it's just all he has is his thoughts in the wind. You ain't hearing a tune on that radio. It's like, no, that makes me a heel. When I'm a bad guy, I'll start listening to Power 92 or something, but till then, no.
All right, so JC Ice and Sir Wolfie D, PG-13, are about to have their debut match in the studio, at least. They've been down at the Coliseum the last couple of weeks, but they're going to take on Bill Rush and TD Steele. Let's see how this goes for them.
I expect those non-middleweights like the Bruise Brothers and the Moondogs.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I haven't seen this group in action. You have, Corey, in the arenas, but boy.
Let me tell you, they could be a good team, but the tactics they use and all of this stuff, boy, it makes you look at that. They're so cocky. Well, as soon as you ring the bell, that's what that kind of stuff.
That's Wolfie D starting, right? Against TD Steele.
TD Steele with a little warm-up exercise beforehand and tangles up with Wolfie D. Good move from Bill. Oh, boy. PG-13. They're in the USWA. Heard a lot about them, and they're here today on Championship Wrestling. And
his wrist hung in the ropes, and Wolfie D then shoved him on down to the floor. Now, what is this?
Look at this. Dundee comes
Oh,
on.
my goodness.
Oh, boy. JC Ice.
A slingshot.
G13. And Wolfie D picks up Bill Rush. He's got him over there. Dundee picks up that hubcap that they bring in the ring. He nailed Rush right in the back of the head with it, too. Boy, now see, that's the kind of stuff you talk about. Had Rush already been earlier, just want to humiliate Bill Rush. Nails him with a piece of that hubcap that they bring in the ring. And PG-13 gets the 1, 2, 3.
But you saw how they did it. Let's take a break. We'll be back with USWA action still to come.
So with their size and their gimmick and some of the high flying moves, I didn't put it in the clip there, but Wolfie does a moonsault off the top rope. Jamie does that dive to the floor. You're going to have a little bit of an uphill battle of them not coming off like baby faces. So I guess one way to combat that, use the hubcap to beat enhancement guys. So we're going for some heat here in their very first match. And one other note before I hand it off to you guys, I'm almost positive that Bill Rush bought those tights he's wearing from Uncle Danny, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think you'd be right.
Yeah, probably.
Because he wore those in the late 80s and the very early 90s. But it's like he started going with other shit as the 90s kept on progressing. But man, you're talking about connection with the crowd right there at the end. You highlighted they did all the high flying moves and stuff, but back during this time and even afterwards, usually heel wrestlers were encouraged no matter what. Don't encourage the fans if they're starting to get on your side. You don't want that. That's not your job. And then they both kind of get out of the ring. And then you hear the crowd, hey, oh, and Wolfie does it one revolution. And then he's like, oh, shit. And then he stops, because he knew he'd probably get a dog cussing whenever he got to the back. But that their personas were so powerful that even with that heel shit in the early 90s, the fans could not help but love them. That's a really powerful thing. You know what I mean?
And that was the one thing that I jotted down when I was watching this show is they missed the boat with making these guys. Maybe they just needed more heels in the company, but
that's the only thing I can figure is that you needed heels because these guys could have came in baby faces right off the jump, and I think they would have got over a lot bigger, a lot sooner if you'd have just not fought the uphill battle of trying to make folks hate them. Because like you said, even with everything they did, they just clubbed this guy with a hubcap. They're still haying and hoeing, and they're still wanting to get behind them.
And we're talking about the early 90s here, which was starting to get an edge to it. We're just, a year or two away from, the ECW era where they were pile driving women and that was considered cool, the hubcap thing, people would look past, you know what I mean? It's that would just be, hey, they're cool because they do break rules, but that's their shtick, but yeah, I mean, I don't know how long I feel like my memory says they worked heel a lot longer than they did. But it feels like it took them forever to turn them, and it was just right there for them.
It was almost a year, I think, wasn't it?
At least, it was at least a year. And, Wolfie talked about in that interview I did with him that aired last week in episode 9 that after the match, he didn't mention if they got scolded for, going along with the crowd. But Wolfie did get scolded for not facing the camera during the promo. And, we talked about the fact that, Jamie had been on TV because, he did some things with Bill. He'd been JC Ice Baby, the little manager, and did, things all the way back into the CWA in like 88, 89. But this is Wolfie's first break on TV. So like Wolfie's been doing, quote unquote outlaw indie shows, in and around Nashville and Kentucky. And, here he is, his TV debut live on, WMC, which is, like me and him talked about, at their size, this seems like it would be the peak of what these guys could hope to do, is to be on Memphis television, and they're making their debut in the, more or less the main event spot here. He hadn't done any television up to here, not even really any local stuff. So, he's like, hell, I didn't know to face the camera. It's the first time I'd ever been on TV, and I'm on live Memphis television in front of more people than, I could ever imagine. And, we kind of talked about in that interview how they went on to, for guys their size starting in Memphis. I mean, you talk about some overachievers, man, that end up in the, the WWF and WCW and ECW and do all the things those guys did with that gimmick over the years was pretty impressive. But this is where it all kicked off. But I totally agree. Like, if we'd have just came out the box as baby faces, I think they would have been over huge from the word go.
But you said something very intriguing there too. This is like his first. I think a lot of times people will watch these old Memphis tapes and think, well, that was just a regional area, but you got to think there wasn't that many options back then. And you got to think, I would love to know what the ratings were, like how many people were watching, because it would be easy to say between Louisville, Nashville, and Memphis, in that little triangle area there had to be at least almost 1 million viewers a week.
Well, you got to think though that area wasn't watching live like we were.
No, but I'm saying like they were
talking
still
about the tape.
They're
and all
still
that.
watching it. They're still getting views. So it's like it's easy to write it off because it's a studio show, and you're thinking, well, this is just a small studio. But yeah, like you said, like that kind of hit home with me. It's like there's like probably a couple million people watching because, I mean, it's on network TV.
Oh yeah, it's documented that WMC had a big enough coverage area that there were well over 1 million people watching it live in Memphis every Saturday. Even in the waning years, like, even though we're not packing the Coliseum on every Monday night, people were still watching the TV show. And so to put that in perspective for people, look at these ratings that everybody's crying about AEW. AEW is a national wrestling company that can barely get 500,000 people to watch their show on Friday nights and Saturday nights, and even Dynamite, it's high fives all around if we even get in the realm of 800,000-900,000 viewers. And on a Saturday morning Memphis program and the studio doing these finishes that we're griping about, there's over 1 million people watching this. And then when you figure in the rest of the territory, like you're saying, Richard, where they went and saw it in Evansville, Nashville, all the different places, you're talking probably 3 million or more saw this before it was over with. So, there wasn't as many options back then. Even in '93, you did not have the options on television in general, and you certainly didn't have the options for wrestling. Like, you couldn't hop on your computer and watch 101 wrestling shows at any given time. So it was a big deal. And, a lot of times, back in the 80s, Memphis, a lot of those guys, by the time they made it on Memphis TV, had been around to some different territories. They were experienced, at least with taped wrestling television. They at least had done TV tapings at places. Not many people had this kind of live experience, but, Wolfie said that he's like, I really hadn't done hardly any TV at all. So, my dream was, maybe someday I could be on Memphis TV. And he's just a little over a year into his career, and he's achieved the dream. He's already on Memphis television, tagging with Bill Dundee's son. So it's pretty impressive. So it's going to be fun getting to watch them develop, see that gimmick start right here in the very beginning and watch it unfold through the rest of '93 and moving forward. So they're here, weeks of rap videos and everything. And so now they're here. So we'll watch and see what's next for them. And of course, what's next for them, or what's first for them maybe, is the middleweight tournament. But before we go there, let's take our second and final podcast commercial break, and then we're going to let Dave and Corey tell us what we got in store for Monday night at the Coliseum.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here, curator of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, inviting you guys to listen to many of the programs here as part of the WrestleCopia brand, including, but not limited to, the Wrestling Memory Grenade, currently covering the 1988 and the WWF project. You can also listen to the Regional Wrestling Podcast, where we talk the territories, whether it's Jamie Ward with Georgia 81, Roman Gomez with the UWF in 1986, or Gene Jackson covering Memphis in 85. 3 projects going on right now over there at Regional Wrestling. You can also listen to the Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop. Bob goes back in time each and every week, covering not just his career, but countless stories and interactions with hundreds of wrestling names spanning his 2 decades in the business. But that's not all. You can also check out the Puro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Puro Resu, Mr. Dan Ginnity. Dan and I go back in time and cover the history of Japanese professional wrestling in the English language. And you can listen to all of those shows and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met, from Apple to Spotify, Pocket Cast, and beyond. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to our social media guys for all the latest goings on here at the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Plus, I'm constantly adding old school video clips and pictures from throughout wrestling history. You can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter, at Wrestling Grenade. That's at RASSLIN Grenade. Also, follow and like me, Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. And why not subscribe to YouTube.com/Wrestling Grenade. So if you're looking to support that next up and coming podcast brand, please consider making it WrestleCopia.
I don't know why they would have chosen to replay those Richard Lee punches to lead us into break, but they did. So I thought I would share them as well, since we didn't see the actual clip. I thought that would tell you everything you need to know about that segment and why we didn't necessarily show it. Ground and pound, brother. Richard knows about that. That's an MMA reference, not anything, not anything else. If that sounded,
you hit both nails on the head there.
All right, so let's hear what this has all been building to. Let's hear what the card's going to be for the Mid-South Coliseum this Monday night.
Opening first round match of the night, we're going to have Danny Davis going against Wolfie D. And by the way, I'm not sure which order the first round matches will go in, but let me tell you what all 4 of the first round matches are. Danny Davis against Wolfie D. Master of Terror will be going against Chris Michaels. Aaron Hatchett goes against Jamie Dundee, and Ms. Texas will go against Leslie Bellinger. Now that's a woman against a woman, but as Eddie Marlin pointed out, in the semifinal match, that means that one of the women is going to be going against a male wrestler, and that'll be the first time for that in tournament action. Semifinal match number 1 and number 2, followed by the finals of the middleweight tournament. Then the winner of the 2 semifinals go to the finals. You got this grudge match coming up. And boy, this one, especially after what's going on today, Eddie Gilbert and Doug Gilbert, it just seems that they're not able to get it settled. And when this thing first started, I got to tell you, Doug Gilbert came out here and he was saying Eddie's always late and he doesn't show up and all that sort of thing.
Kind of believed him.
I believed him. I was right there with Doug, and I said, well, maybe you're right, Doug. Eddie's just irresponsible. And then come to find out, when Eddie comes in and tells his side of the story, the reason he was late because Doug didn't pick him up. He left and all of that sort of thing. And Eddie says Doug is just jealous of the entire situation. And every now and then when they were kids, Eddie said Doug would just keep picking at him until finally he had to bear down and put him back in his place. And he says that's what he's going to have to do come Monday night. Eddie says I got to bear down and take care of Doug, get him thinking straight again, and that'll last for at least a little while. Brother against brother, Eddie Gilbert against Doug Gilbert in the grudge match Monday night. Southern title will be on the line then. Jeff Jarrett, he has wanted this return match. He had to wait forever to get a match with Brian Christopher for the title, and then won it. Wasn't able to keep it long because of some interference from outside the ring and what have you, but he gets another chance this time. Jeff Jarrett will be going against the Southern title holder, Brian Christopher. Christopher, of course, with Bert Prentice over in his corner. The hair match. Hair against hair, no time limit, no disqualification, no stopping the match. Folks from the Perfect Cut are going to be there, clippers in hand, ready to shave somebody's head, either Richard Lee's or Mike Samples. Moondogs with Richard Lee going against Ron and Don Harris, the Bruise Brothers, with Mike Samples in their corner. Samples says, I'm not worried. These guys are big. These guys are tough. I don't know if he's paying attention or not, but the Moondogs won last time around, and if they win Monday night, Mr. Samples is going to find himself with a haircut. That's not all. Main event of the night. This one should be something else.
This one,
Yeah, Brian Christopher and the Bruise Brothers with Mike Samples, 6-man match. It'll be Lawler, Jarrett, and Giant Gonzalez coming in with downtown Bruno. He's 8 feet tall. It should be an exciting night at the Mid-South Coliseum.
The night of
He's
24 stars.
We didn't bother to count the stars this week, unfortunately. Pretty bummed out the Rock and Roll Phantom isn't going to be there, but so no performance from him and Bert. So that's probably going to bring down the house this week. So it's that time, guys. Let's answer those all important questions about the show that we have you answer each and every week. So first and foremost, what was your least favorite part of today's show?
I'll be honest right now, not a big fan of this middleweight division. Call me old fashioned, but and I hope I don't get any emails over this. I'm not a big fan of men wrestling women. I'm just not. I mean, to me, and like I said, no emails. A full grown man should always be able to take care of business with a woman in an athletic event. That's
I was going to say, I take care of business. You mean?
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean. You know, come on, think about it.
Richard at. No, I'm just kidding.
But I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that's the whole debate right now with, athletes in sports and women's divisions, right? Is, the competitiveness, and you got testosterone, bone structure, density. It's hard for a woman to compete on that level. And part of me wants to say, what is Memphis doing? Because this seems like totally something they would have been against, from the get-go. And maybe you listen to Cornette's podcast, he talks about how ridiculous it is that women are in there competing with men. It would be different if it was guys like the size of Bruno, or like you said earlier, Tony Williams. But we're talking about Mr. Uncle Danny, Wolfie D, JC Ice. It just doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? But that's just me. I could be alone in that feature.
So you're probably wondering what the worst part for me was.
Not really, but let's say it anyway.
I've got to work it in. It's just, and it is the worst part for me personally. Not one, not two, 3 Harris brother appearances. It's a Harris heavy show. And like I said, each time I see those guys, it's like I don't know, man.
It goes back inside him a little bit.
Oh, it's definitely turtle heading.
Yeah, Bruise Brothers trifecta this week.
It's just god awful. They're fucking rotten, man. They're rotten.
Wow.
The Punch Kick Express, the goddamn Bruiser. It's like Bruiser Brody, and I don't want to say all that. Either way,
I loved it. I love in the early weeks, like these were just subtle. Like I just didn't really care for the Harris Brothers segment, and now we're episode 10. You're like, them pieces of shit are terrible. They're like, it's like somebody dug up Bruiser Brody's corpse and he's trying to wrestle, except his would be better. Like, oh my god,
come out there with that frizzy hair. They need to get some Pantene Pro V. God. Jesus Christ.
Some bitches
they don't even have fur on their boots, man.
Yeah. They ain't never heard of Vidal Sassoon.
I love how you painted yourself in a corner too. You're like, they're like Bruiser Brody. So you got the bruise in there, and then you got to brothers, and you're like, ooh, I can't.
Well, I was gonna say it's like Bruiser Brody and Kim Jong-un jerked off in a cup, and there you have the Harris twins, because I hate Kim Jong-un about the same, but like
America, yeah.
Dude. My God, they are so fucking horrible, and they did it 3 times. I wanted to not watch the show after the second one, and then I just like, you got to power through. You're a trooper. Either way, I hate those guys.
So just to recap, to give a short version of what these guys just said, basically Richard said women have a place at a wrestling show. It's in the concession stand. Somebody's got to serve the popcorn and cook the hot dogs.
Those little hands can get in
and
that
Josh
machine.
has compared the Harris brothers to Kim Jong-un. That's a political figure. If you're just a wrestling fan that don't keep up with politics, you can Google that. Don't know the exact spelling. My reply to, I mean, we've all talked about the Harris brothers ad nauseum. We won't go down that path again. But to reply to Richards, the middleweight tournament, it exists for two reasons in my mind. This is just Gene Jackson's speculation. I'm not stating this as fact, because a lot of people on these nostalgia wrestling shows, I get annoyed listening to them because they just state things that's their opinion as facts, and they're not always. So this is my opinion. That's my little disclaimer in the beginning. This tournament's happening for two reasons. One, we had that belt laying around. Let's do something with it. We got these small guys on the card. We got these two new PG-13 guys on the card. Let's get a belt to pass around amongst Danny Davis and the PG-13. But more importantly than that, the reason the women's aspect of it's in there, we want to use Miss Texas, and we don't want to spend money on talented women who could have competitive matches with Miss Texas. So let's find an excuse to put her in the ring with men. How many times can we watch Miss Texas beat up Leslie Bellinger or, Lauren Davenport or what was it last week? Candy Kane, whoever the hell that was. So screw it. Let's just let her wrestle the guys. We've got these small guys that she probably could really beat up in real life anyway. Let's just let her do it. And we'll do it under the guise of she's competing for this belt. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my take. So, question number 2. What was your most favorite part of the show?
I loved everything about the Eddie Gilbert promo and the thought of him and Brian. Like I said, it was great working up to it. I wish we would get that clean finish, but I understand why they didn't do that. Yeah. But yeah, that was probably my, sadly, it was the start of the show. But yeah, it was probably my favorite part of the show.
So mine, it's a two-parter. Number 1, the fireball spot. Like, seriously, it was like Michael Bay or somebody directed that shit. And Luger was about, I don't know, it had to have been at least an inch. And that's the max of being like a completely different character moving forward. Like, he could have been a heel if he would have got that fireball, would have hit him and really scarred him up or whatever. So the timing on that, it shows you why Luger's there, man. He's an absolute pro. The very last fucking second, seamless. It looked fucking great. And number 2, PG-13's debut. Like, to me, when I think back of the greatest tag teams in Memphis history, just my personal favorites, not like just broad spectrum. Well, what about Billy Wicks and goddamn that? No, like my
the original Heavenly Bodies.
Yeah, my personal favorite tag teams. PG-13 is in the top 3. Like, I absolutely love the gimmick. They were another set of dudes. Like, it didn't matter, heel, babyface. They were excellent at both. And that is a true great wrestler. True great wrestlers that can do that either or.
And your third favorite moment was when the Harris brothers left.
No, when they almost busted the one of them.
I was waiting. I was like, an honorable mention when one almost ate shit.
I described that in length before already. Right, so that's
and we knew you liked it, so you didn't really have to. Yeah, I get it, but we'd be remiss if we didn't at least acknowledge one more time that they almost wiped out and you enjoyed it. All right, so yeah, I can co-sign both of those things. I agree with that. And of course, the final question is always, if we were still in 1993, would today's television have inspired you to go buy a ticket for Monday night's card?
If I was given a ticket, I would go.
No, the question is, would you buy a ticket?
I don't think I would buy a ticket for this one. I mean, the only thing that's going to spark my interest, to be honest, other than what we've seen already, we just saw a tournament last week involving some of these guys. PG-13 wasn't in it, but we just saw a tournament like a couple weeks ago. So I'm not good on tournaments. The only Moondogs, Harris Brothers, we've seen that. the only thing that I'm kind of intrigued about going to see would be Eddie and Doug and Giant Gonzalez, just because, hey, this is a very large guy. He's here. He was a WCW guy like Luger. Let's go see him. Let's go see what he looks like. But I don't think I'm buying a ticket for this one.
And Jeff's wrestling Brian, and nobody's hair's even on the line.
Right.
Josh?
Yes, I definitely would buy a ticket because whenever WCW had Giant Gonzalez, I never got to go and see him live. So, like, that's an attraction, man. Like, he's taller than Andre. You know, I would want to see that no matter who he was facing. And I'm intrigued by the tournament, man, because, like, one of the best memories I have is Miss Texas beating the absolute shit out of Randy Hales on a show. And, like, dude, a lot of times, man, like, she was one of the highlights of the show. So I want to go and just see how she would fare against the real wrestlers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because there was a lot of those kind of novelty matches where she wrestled Bruno and she wrestled Brandon Baxter and Scott Bowden and Randy Hales and all these different people. But here she's going to be competing against some real wrestlers, if you will. So March 1st, 1993 at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis. And this to me is the most interesting detail because we do have an attendance figure this week, guys. And this is the largest attendance we have had at the Coliseum in quite some time. Over 3,000 fans packed the Coliseum to see this card. Wow. So that's the most we've had here. I think Mr. Perfect got us almost 2,000 fans. And since then, we've been rocking right at 1,000 the weeks that we've had attendance figures. And the weeks that we did not see them, it had to be less based on who was there. All right, so opening match, big shocker here. I think we all could have called this one. Miss Texas defeated Leslie Ballinger to eliminate her from the middleweight tournament. In the second match, JC Ice, Jamie Dundee defeated Hurricane Hatchet. In the third match, the Master of Terror, Ken Wayne defeated Chris Michaels. In the fourth match, Uncle Nightmare Danny Davis defeated Sir Wolfie D. In the fifth match, JC Ice, Jamie Dundee defeated Miss Texas. In the sixth match, Nightmare Danny Davis defeated Master of Terror, Nightmare Ken Wayne. So, fun little battle of the nightmares. We hadn't seen that a few times this year so far. And then in the finals, in the championship finals to crown the first ever USWA middleweight champion, the finals is Danny Davis versus JC Ice. Do you guys care to take a guess at who won the championship?
No, it's Uncle Danny all the way.
I was going to say Danny, he owned the belt.
He came with the belt.
Your first ever USWA middleweight champion, JC Ice, Jamie Dundee defeated.
Oh, my
Danny
grandmother's
Davis.
right again.
Yeah, you got to listen to your let them be a lesson, Richard. Listen to your grandmother.
He's lucky he didn't get his ass beat by that woman.
Old Jobber Davis ain't beating JC Ice, son. And another surprising ending, or perhaps not, I don't know. Dirty Doug Gilbert defeated Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert in their grudge match this week. In another, I don't know, maybe somewhat shocking result, I'm not sure. Yeah. Jeff Jarrett pinned Brian Christopher to win back the USWA Southern Heavyweight title. Then the Bruise Brothers, Ron and Don Harris with Mike Samples, defeated Moondog Spot and Splat, and Richard Lee's head was shaved after the match. Sure, there'll be a rematch soon to avenge the
Richard
loss.
Lee grows hair back.
There wasn't even enough hair to sweep up, though, was it?
I don't know. He always has that hat on, you know,
Yeah,
kind
it
of
was
like
like
me.
Yeah.
If you see the sides, you think I got some hair to shave. I take this hat off, I look like Richard over there. Main event: Jerry the King Lawler, Jeff Jarrett, and the Giant Gonzalez with Downtown Bruno in their corner defeated Brian Christopher, Ron and Don Harris with both Burt Prentice and Mike Samples. So we sent the 3,000 home happy.
Yeah. And all three guys in that had lost 2 matches each that night.
Yes.
Wow.
And
you don't see that
often. Once.
You don't see that often, you know, with Brian losing and usually they tried to at least do 1 DQ to keep the heels strong, but except for Doug, all the babies went over, right?
Well, the Harris brothers beat the
Harris
Moondogs.
Yeah. No,
So they split. They split that night. They lost.
Okay.
They won. They beat the Moondogs. They lost to the Giant Gonzalez and Lawler and Jarrett. So
Gotcha. Okay, never mind.
we got a new Southern heavyweight champion in Jeff Jarrett. So I'm sure Brian's gonna have a lot to say about that next week. Look forward to that. We'll see if the skin is starting to grow back on his face, as he said. So all right, fun show this week, folks. Please, wherever you are listening or viewing this, make sure you rate and review and leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of the show. And if you're watching the video cast, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And for all things related to the podcast, we're talking Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Everything can be found at USWApodcast.com, as well as our store where you can purchase t-shirts. We sold some shirts this week, guys. We sold some Moondog shirts. We sold some USWA podcast stickers and some things like that. So
Mike Miller.
We haven't sold any Mike Miller stuff. That hurts my feelings. We did sell a couple of those buttons at the Fan Fest in Jonesboro because Rosie was wearing a button. She's like, "Who the hell is this guy?" I was like, "That's mean Mike Miller. You better recognize." So she's like, "All right, fine." She put it on, and we sold a couple. So that was cool. If you have any questions, comments, requests related to the show, you can email us at uswapodcast@outlook.com. If you'd like to do an ad swap with us or something like that, just let me know. We'll see what we can do about that. And make sure you follow WrestleCopia.com and all the great podcasts that Ray Russell has over there, including his Patreon, where just $5 a month will get you a ton of amazing content. And of course, get ready for Dangerous Conversations with Doug Gilbert, my weekly podcast with Doug Gilbert that's starting up real soon, and for everything related to it and Doug's social medias and his t-shirt store, all that good stuff. You can check that out at DougGilbertPodcast.com. And if you want to hear more from my co-hosts, some wild and crazy rants and discussions and all sorts of fun stuff, go wherever you listen to the podcast and put in P3 Radio, just as you see it there on your screen. If you're watching, if you're listening, it's the letter P, the number 3, and the word radio. These guys have had a podcast going for years now. I applaud their consistency and their dedication to the craft of podcasting. It's always fun. It's always entertaining. And if you think they say some wild shit here, you haven't heard anything. Go check out their podcast where they're unfiltered and they don't hold back. It's a lot of fun. They've had guests. They talk about just everything. It's not just wrestling. It's a little bit of everything. So make sure you check that out. Guys, anything else before we sign off?
2 weeks ago was a humdinger, as they say. But yeah, we are enjoying this thing, man. We're glad that people out there are enjoying this, and can't wait to see next week's episode. We're going to be marching into March, right?
That's right. We will be into March, and we will have a new middleweight champion. I can only imagine the amount of shit JC Ice is going to be talking as he marches into that studio wearing the middleweight title. And Jeff Jarrett's going to be wearing the Southern heavyweight title. So Brian Christopher is not going to be happy. And the Moondogs are going to have a bald-headed manager named Richard Lee. So, and every week WWF has been sending in a superstar. So we have to figure somebody is going to be showing up. Who could it be? You'll just have to tune in to find out. Right here on the Retro Wrestling Review Podcast.